Hey, what's up, y'all? Spence from OG Broadcast. I guess in this newer channel, one of the things I want to talk about is I feel like I got to do a who am I sort of video. So I guess this is that, where I just give a little bit of my background, not in the way that a lot of people do, where I list my schooling and all this kind of stuff and my sports and accolades. Um, and they weren't big anyway, but just what kind of person I am. If somebody needs that to be able to pay attention to what I put out. Because right now, in the beginning, nobody's really watching. And perhaps if this channel grows at all, and maybe people won't care as much who is the one saying it, but it doesn't matter to me. I think I should introduce myself. I think I owe you that as an audience. So here's a little bit about how I see the world, how I grew up, and that sort of thing. Primarily, my parents instilled the fact that I do well in school. Like, whose parents don't do that? What I took that as is I'm going to learn in school. I don't always do well in school. I don't choose to participate or like the way school's handled, essentially what I'm being taught. But I try to do my best. I feel like I know what everybody else in the class knows. I just don't test well because I don't feel like I got the same thing from the subject that the teachers tested on. And I think that's because I'm a different person and I think differently. But with the parents installing like the importance of learning and doing well in school, what I found myself doing is I take that out of school. And I learned at home, and I learned in the street, and I learned from experience. And that sort of shapes me in a way that I see things differently than a lot of people maybe. I'm not sure. But one thing that it kind of does is the fact that I've tried to take up everything that I'm learning, everything that I'm seeing, and I put it into my own, I wear it. Like I tried that on when I hear an opinion that I haven't heard before. Before I just say, boo, how do you think that? What's your problem? The group think way where like, we all think this, why do you think different? I don't do that. There might be opinions that I have that a lot of people have that fit into the group think, but it's never the complete pie. I still look at other things certain ways. And I'm not quick to stand up and speak, with a megaphone on a particular topic on one side of a coin. The reason is because of my schooling part of the education. You see that nothing that you learn is as shallow as the question that's being asked. So like if somebody says, why do we call H2O hydrogen dioxide instead of HO2? Like if you're in chemistry class, why H2O is water, right? But I heard people call that hydrogen dioxide. The two is actually in the wrong place. If the two was after the oxygen, then it would be dioxide. So to me, it should be dihydrogen oxide. But so when somebody says, I don't know the answer to that yet, is what I'm saying. So when somebody comes on and says, hey, who in here knows chemistry? I'm not putting my hand up because I don't have the answer to shit like that. And I might look at somebody else like, do you know chemistry? Let me hear more. If we start finding out we don't know this, and that, and we don't know the chemical symbol for boron, then I can be like, okay, I probably know chemistry enough to fit in here. But the reason I know that is because I'm not even settled on why we call this hydrogen dioxide. You know what I mean? There's so much I don't know. Come to find out, that's not really the appropriate name for it anyway. So, see, I can't say I know something when I know how much is to know that I don't know. And I find out that everything is like that. That's just a chemistry example. I'm not even a chemistry guy. But there's so much behind everything that's being asked. I really need to know what level of the people we're talking to are at, like what level are we all at here, so that I can then participate at that level, if I have that much. But Everything has a backstory. Everything has more. When you get into the second chemistry class, you find out that's not dihydrogen dioxide isn't right anyway. It's dihydrogen monoxide. It's like what? So we don't know. I don't know a lot of stuff. So that's why I'm timid to speak up in front of people when we're on a subject. And there's a lot of subjects that I learn about this, but I may be a little too into the weeds on this particular example, but I'm trying to build who I am. I'm trying to explain to you where I stand on a lot of subjects. I'm open to hear anything, even somebody who sounds blatantly wrong. Maybe they have a reason for that. Maybe they have a reason. I'm willing to at least listen at that point. Now, this is young. This is me learning like through grade school. This is how I thought of things. Into high school, this is how I thought of things. But I was a big rap guy back in the 80s, when I was in school. And I liked Fat Boys, Run DMC, Houdini, that kind of thing. But one thing that started to hit towards the mid 80s, I think it was, maybe into the late 80s, was the Africa pendants. Now, I never wore the African pendants. It's not because I don't think I'm black. I didn't necessarily give that credence to being black. Like they would have the little leather black circular thing with the Africa emblem like puffed up inside that. That used to be fly. Everybody wanted the Africa pendant. I didn't feel right to wear it because I'm not African, currently African. And I didn't feel like my people were either. And I don't mean it like I know that we all have the same skin color and they come from another continent. It has nothing to do with, do I think that's better or worse? I simply know here. I don't know anybody who has a connection to a country back in Africa. So I wouldn't wear the pendant. It didn't mean I don't, I'm not open to finding out that I may be in the future. Or in fact, it might make me study my tree to find out if I'm from there and where there. But those are the kind of examples I mean. Like I don't let anything go without looking into it if it seems like it carries any water at all. And that's a big thing. Like everybody black was about the Back to Africa movement. And I remember looking at it like, the hell you gonna send me back to Africa and I'm not from Africa? So these are the types of things that I think about that are shaping me when I'm young. And then I realized I like this idea of learning. I like this idea of staying open with things. So I sort of started to take on and decide that I'm going to be a jack of all trades sort of thing in my life. And that means, if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. I don't want to be so solid in one thing that that's what I devote my whole life to. I don't think my brain works best that way. So I'd rather have a decent speaking, intelligent conversation level of knowledge in everything that's possible that I can get that in, versus just when you think of, plumbing, call him. I don't want that to be my thing. I want to be able to walk in any room and talk to anybody. So that's just another part of who I am and what I'm curating as I grow and learn more things. And in that brings me, I'm just moving all the way through life to kind of where I am right now. Delineation's big. I'm huge into this. I'm huge into hearing everybody's input in it, why we think it's good, why we think it's not. So delineation I'm big in right now, and who I am. And I tend to think I/we, meaning black people from here. But there's a lot with that. So delineation, I'm all the way in favor of. It's simple. There's nothing offensive about it. People take it offensively. If you do, then we're not on the same scale anyway, so I feel no need to discuss it with you. If you're open to it and just wondering, is it because of hate? Is it because of dislike? I can talk with you all day. That has nothing to do with any of it. Everybody talks about where they're from. And the fact that we have some things in common, which is essentially high melanin count, and almost that's it. Like, I feel like the culture here that we have built deserves to be recognized as its own thing. And I don't feel the need to reach back across the ocean to people who I've witnessed work for me, I've worked with me, have come here just had casual conversations. I witness it all the time. They feel different than me. They tell me they're different than me, and I've heard them discuss with each other that they're different than me. Cool. I'm just saying, cool. Be different. Be different the whole time. When shit goes bad for you, don't blame it on us. You keep that. And when it goes good, I don't have to tell you to tout your own flag. You already do that. So I feel right now I'm on delineation, and I'm still up to discuss it. I'm still up to take in more information on why that's a positive or a negative, why that could help or hurt my people, and anything else. And that's the whole goal. All my education is about what's going to help or hurt my people. And first, I have to distinguish who my people are. And in distinguishing who we are, you see how it just keeps going. There's so much to learn. In distinguishing who we are, I have to determine, okay, now I'm here. My people are from here. I'm not African based. Like, I'm not Afram, the African American. Like, I'm not that. I'm from right here in the United States. Refer to myself as a Black American. Why do I put Black there? That's not a country. That's not, Black American don't have a flag. So I'm trying to convince myself to get Black out of it, because Black has a negative connotation that people, I think words are important in the government. Words are important in laws, in feelings, like how people think of you, refer to you. I don't think Black is necessary, but it hurts to not use that, because I spent my life on the Black power thing, the Black people got pride, like all this stuff. So it's hard to get away from Black. And even one of the sort of lineage deals that we got now is FBAs, the Foundational Black Americans. Their thing is, we've been here. Like, we're from here. This is where where the culture starts. Biggest culture in the country of melanated people, in my opinion. The stars here can go anywhere in the world and people recognize them. It's here. This is the culture, and I feel good about that. But it's Black. It keeps putting that word Black in there. So then I educate myself. I keep looking. I keep taking information. And now I'm leaning more heavily towards indigeneity, to here, indigenous to this land. And I'm not going to defend it as in with facts and paper trail and all that. This is not what, I'm almost never going to feel secure enough in the research to probably tout for it. I have more family, like, for instance, in my family, and I think this applies to a lot of families of my culture here, but I'm just going to speak on mine because this is the one I have experience with. We don't have Africans in our family that I know of, born there, or we weren't born there. We're not first generation, even fourth generation, as far back as I've been able to look before we get into the paperwork and stuff. But we do have Indian. And Indian, this is tricky, because we've been called lots of different things through the years, and I think one of the first things was Indian. And if Black people were here, which I'm pretty secure on, when colonizers came over here to try to bilk this land for what they could, we were here. It wasn't the red Indians that we referred to them. It wasn't any of that. It was us here. So I'm not going to, let me see how I can say this. It's not me preaching on that. This is where I believe mostly right now, where my meter is leaning more towards. So this isn't education, this is me explaining who I am. But I do think we were here, been here the whole time. And so now I have to have a new fight. Like, I have to learn to say indigenous, and that my indigeneity lies right here. And people outside of me on applications, I now check Black or African American, and I check indigenous American. I check two things on paperwork now because I think it's true. But saying it to people and discussing it with people, when you think indigenous, they think Eskimos. Like I mean, the Siberians, to come down, they look like Eskimos. So it's like I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm saying they are one of me. You know what I mean? Like they came here with whatever they came with, but we were here. And it's hard to explain that to people without blowing the whole argument up and talking about something totally different than what the initial question was. So so that's kind of where I am. So that's who I am talking on these YouTube pages. I mean, that's the background of where I come from, how my mind thinks, really briefly. I mean, it's only how I don't know 10 or 15 minutes a chat, but it's enough to let you know like I'm not a group thinker, and that's tough because a lot of people want you to be part of the group, and I'm a black guy in the United States, so black people want you to be African American. You want to go to the AFRAM, the African American football game, and some they call it the AFRAM. Everything is about that black pride. I'm trying to get away from black. It's like I'm dissociating myself from the people that I love by trying to hold what I think is more true than cool. It's a tough discussion. I'd like to. I want to meet a lot of people. I'm trying to find my tribe. Everybody's trying to find their tribe, right? There has to be a tribe of people who aren't 100% on everything that they think. They might be 100 on something that they're extremely researched at. But I need to find the thinkers in that group who can say, I'm open to this, I'm open to this. Here's what I heard. Then we can look at that. Here's what I heard. But right now, I think the first thing we got to do is figure out who we are and what we're about. And delineation allows me to do that. I think it's necessary to move any further. You got to be able to explain who you are and how you're different. And then I need to know where we came from, which isn't an easy research or discussion in these United States. But I'll figure them both out. If you have any input, I'd love to hear it. Right now, just so you know, I understand that the Tariq Nasheeds are the FBAs. I get that. I get that Dane Calloway, who is my guy, I do love that guy's work and through. And he's on Niji. He's the we're indigenous here. He has done the most research of anybody I've seen. He's a younger dude, but he is really well established, and he's not making stuff up. He goes to the place and he puts his own dime forward to do the research. So I appreciate that. If you haven't peeped him out, peep him out. And I'm going to roll with that. Peace, and it was good chatting with you.